Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are kicking things off with a seriously intense historical mystery, one that's actually brewing right now, deep out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. While we're just going about our normal day-to-day lives, weather agencies are tracking this massive, almost silent shifting of ocean temperatures. It literally threatens to completely upend our global weather systems. Some folks are even calling it a waking water demon. But to really grasp why scientists are practically hitting the panic button today, we've got to look backwards. We need to look at exactly what went down the last time the ocean hit the terrifying threshold we're approaching right now.
50 million. I really want you to just let that massive number sink in for a second. 50 million. We aren't talking about a budget deficit, and that's not, gallons of water. That is the estimated human death toll from one single cascading environmental disaster that struck our planet roughly 150 years ago.
Specifically, we're talking about the horrific aftermath of the January 1877 El Niño event. And according to research in the Journal of Climate, this wasn't just a tough season for farmers. The disruption was so absolute that Asia, Africa, and South America got hit with record-breaking droughts. I mean, rivers and lakes literally just dried up. Crops completely failed. For countries over in Asia that rely heavily on the monsoon, it triggered the absolute worst famine they had seen in 800 years. People were desperate for just a single grain of food or a drop of water.
Section 1. Warning of Great Destruction.
So, according to major weather agencies like NOAA, history is gearing up to repeat itself. Scientists are warning us that we aren't just facing a run-of-the-mill El Niño. We're staring down a Super El Niño. Now, this is an extreme classification they use when the Ocean Nino Index is projected to cross the 3-degree mark. And hey, 3 degrees might not sound like a huge deal when you're bumping up the thermostat in your living room, but in terms of oceanic temperatures, it is massive. NOAA is saying there's an 82% chance of this Super El Niño fully activating between May and July. If it crosses that 3-degree line, it hits a terrifying history-making level that has only ever been recorded once before. And yeah, you guessed it, that was back in January 1877.
Section 2. What exactly is El Niño? Okay, let's dive into this. To understand why this is such a catastrophe, we need to demystify how this phenomenon actually works. It's kind of like a giant puzzle, so let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Under normal conditions, winds naturally flow from high pressure to low pressure areas. Simple enough, right? Step 2. During an El Niño, the surface water near the coast of Peru abnormally heats up. Step 3. This localized heating gets so intense that it literally breaks down the global air circulation in tropical regions, turning everything chaotic. And finally, step 4. Because that circulation gets totally wrecked, the moisture-heavy winds from the high-pressure Indian Ocean fail to reach the Indian subcontinent. The end result? That life-giving monsoon is severely weakened or just blocked altogether.
This contrast is absolutely crucial to understand. Normally, intense summer heat over the Indian landmass creates this low-pressure zone, which basically acts like a vacuum, pulling in that moisture-rich air from the Indian Ocean and delivering heavy, consistent rains. But when El Niño kicks in, that Pacific warming just scrambles the wind pressure completely. The moisture just never makes it inland. So a weather pattern that usually guarantees a lush green agriculture suddenly flips, and it becomes this severe, unyielding drought generator.
Section 3. The dangerous impact of global warming. Now, you might be wondering, why are scientists so much more freaked out today than they were 150 years ago? Well, think about the Earth in 1877. The global population was under 1 billion people, and the planet was, relatively speaking, a lot cooler. Fast forward to today, and the whole shebang is entirely different. Thanks to industrialization and greenhouse gases, the Earth's temperature has already spiked by 1.4 degrees Celsius. The World Meteorological Organization just marked 2024 as the absolute hottest year on record. So we're dealing with a heavily populated, super interconnected world that is literally already pushed to its absolute thermal limits. The source material we're digging into today poses a really chilling question. It says, think about what the scene of heat and destruction will be when history's most powerful Super El Niño knocks on an already boiling Earth. It's a heavy thought, right? We aren't just bracing for a historic weather event, we're doing it with zero thermal buffer. Our planet is already running a fever.
Section 4. Impact on Natatapa and the monsoon. Now, what's really fascinating here is how these massive global atmospheric shifts impact super-specific ancient cultural practices. Take Nawatapa, for example. If you're not familiar, Nawatapa refers to 9 days of absolute blistering heat that hits during the Rohini Nakshatra in the Indian astrological calendar. But here's the catch. Rather than fearing this extreme heat, Indian agricultural tradition completely respects it and prepares for it.
Why? Because the belief is that the more intense the heat during Nawatapa, the stronger the monsoon will be. This insane terrestrial heat is literally required to evaporate massive amounts of ocean water, which guarantees the strong rains they need for a successful harvest.
It turns out there are some incredible, highly specific benefits to this intense 9-day heat wave. First off, like we just said, it heats the oceans to generate those crucial rain clouds. Second, the baking sun physically purifies the soil. Third, those extreme temperatures act like a natural pesticide. They kill off harmful crop bacteria and insects before the seeds even go into the ground. And finally, in traditional practice, it's considered a time for human detoxification, basically sweating out toxins. It's this perfectly balanced natural cycle that is absolutely vital for an agriculture-dominated country like India. But here is where things get really concerning. This impending Super El Niño is gearing up to completely sabotage this ancient cycle. Because El Niño messes with those high and low pressure systems, the extreme heat of Nawatapa won't actually yield the reward of heavy monsoon rains. So instead of purifying the soil and prepping it for a lush harvest, El Niño threatens to just bake the land into a dry, cracked, completely barren landscape. That water demon from the Pacific is threatening to just ruin all those natural benefits, leaving crops to completely wither. Section 5, Future Threat and Preparation. So what exactly are we looking at in the coming months? The warnings from the World Meteorological Organization and NOAA are coming in fast, and they are urgent. If this ocean anomaly peaks like they predict, we are staring down a cascading chain of crises. We're talking severe droughts leading straight into major water crises. That inevitably triggers massive global food shortages. All those dry conditions, they act like giant piles of kindling for global forest fires. We could easily see heat wave-driven epidemics as our bodies get stressed by these unbearable temperatures. And to top it all off, those disrupted air currents can spawn vastly stronger, way more erratic cyclones. But, okay, take a deep breath, because as terrifying as that all sounds, we aren't living in 1877 anymore. Back in the 19th century, humanity had absolutely zero advance warning. The famine and drought just struck with blind devastation. Today, we've got incredible modern preparedness. We've got fleets of advanced satellites constantly monitoring ocean surface temperatures. We've got early warning systems, advanced computer models. Governments today actually have the technological advantage to see this threat coming, stockpile resources, and coordinate relief efforts months in advance. Which brings us to one final, really provocative thought to wrap up today's explainer. The stage is set for an epic clash. On one side, we've got an already boiling planet and the raw, unprecedented power of a Super El Niño, this 150-year-old water demon waking up from the depths of the Pacific. But on the other side, we have the absolute height of human technological achievement and global coordination. So the question we have to ask ourselves is this: will our modern technology and early warning systems be enough to mitigate the damage, or are we fundamentally at the mercy of nature's most extreme cycles? Thank you so much for joining me for today's explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the Pacific.